Hi, this is Alex Gonzalez from In Your Phase. This is going to be a 40K centered episode and our second episode of the podcast. In this episode, we're going to be reviewing not only the Flying Monkey major event that had just happened, but also take a look and have a discussion on some of our favorite rules and some of our least favorite rules of 9th edition. We're pretty excited about jumping back into 40K, so I hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome to In Your Phase. This is Alex, John, Jeremy, and Garrett. We are going to be reviewing the Flying Monkey Con GT, and we're going to be taking a look at 40K this episode. So to get started, John, what's in your phase today?
Hey, what's up, Alex? How the hell are you doing? Well, I'll tell you what's been in my phase this week. I am a guy who likes to do a lot of gardening, and I was poking around on the internet, and I found this amazing company that makes hats, Outer Rims headwear, making these incredible hats. And so I contacted the owner, and, you know, it turns out fabulous person to work with who does custom orders, actually went down to the fabric store and interacted with me, taking photographs of different fabric samples to make sure that they were ones that I enjoyed, made me this amazing chili pepper hat, and check this out. I didn't even order this. Look at this. I've got my fire eater mask to go with my chili pepper hat. But no, that's not enough, because sometimes I'm feeling like a special sunflower, and I can style it up with my sunflower mask. And before you think I'm being silly about this, I will remind you guys that I have custom Vans that I had made with sunflowers. That's a sunflower that was planted by squirrels in my backyard a few years ago, had them made into Vans, and I actually have an entire set of sunflower. Let me adjust this to go with my headphones a little bit here. There we go. I think you got to wear them under the headphones, right, Alex?
Yeah, under the headphones.
There we go. Oh, the brim up? Oh,
yeah, I got to do the brim up.
Oh, that is so cool. So anyway, so I got these fine hats in the mail. I got matching ones for my wife and I. We have matching sunflower shoes, sunflower hats, and sunflower masks, so that when we go out over the next few days, we'll look pretty cool. I like to do that kind of stuff. Outside of that, I am continuing with my hobby progress, building the Indomitus set. As I showed you guys, I built most of the Necrons, not all of them, but I did build everything except the Warriors so far. And I finally got my LEDs. I had ordered LEDs from a new company, Evans Designs, and they have these new Pico LEDs. They are about the size of the letter I, the letter I in about a 6-point font. So maybe 1.5 millimeters across. And so kind of spent some time over the weekend building myself a lighted bike. So you see I got there we get the focus going. There we go. So I got the working pew-pews up front there. So we're going there, and it's got a little flash on the side. Of course, we've got the cool skull thing. Unfortunately, it washes the camera out, but that's actually a glowing skull for his display. And then I myself figure that the new badass Primaris bikes are not Promethium powered, so I removed the exhaust pipes from mine and added a fusion core to power my bikes instead.
Wait,
so
really? They actually are not like Promethium based or
They do. He removed the exhaust.
He doesn't want them to be.
I don't want them to be. So I cut the exhaust pipes off, put in my own fusion reactor, and of course, for those that are curious, yes, there's my own messy circuitry stuff. You know, if I was cool, I would do epoxy potting, but instead I just glob a bunch of hot melt glue down there and it does the job well enough. Over time, it picks up some dirt and all that. So those are mainly what has been on my workbench. This is my birthday week, so by the time
Yeah.
you guys are listening to this, our listeners are listening to this on Friday, I will be 1 year older. I've gone around the sun one more time, and I will be much celebrated by then. So I'm looking forward to 4 or 5 days off. I'm going to hobby the heck out of these lighted bikes. So by the next recording, I might have a whole squad of lighted bikes, or I might have electrical burns on my fingers.
Yeah,
Either one of those things could happen. And
you're rocking your 25s really well.
Right? Almost 30. Almost
Tell you what,
30.
he parties like he is.
I mean, it has been 31 years since I turned 21.
Hot damn.
So that's the only time we'll admit that. Other than that, though, again, having a lot of fun. I have a couple games lined up for this weekend, so I'm going to play some 40K against my buddy Sean. We'll be talking about that next week, some good hobby. And that is everything I have to say. And with that, Garrett, what's been in your phase this week?
I've had a good week, a normal week. So I want to, it's nothing extremely exciting, nothing bad.
I love like a good week is a normal week for Garrett. Most of these weeks are so bad because they're not normal.
Okay, well, I try to just I pay attention to what's good. You just ignore, you just block out the bad. Just like, all right, it's happening. So shout out to a longtime listener and good friend of mine, Matt Barker. I played a game against him on Thursday. So he wanted to bring out his Caratron Overlords that he's been hobbying a bunch on and really excited to get a game in. I did not want to bring any of my Age of Sigmar armies. They do not seem fun to play against KO. My Sylvaneth, my Karn, or my Legion of Night. None of those sound fun to play against KO at all in the current meta. So he brought out his Nurgle, and so I busted out a 45 Blight King force against his KO list, and he was punished thoroughly.
Good.
Like, you can't kill 45 Blight Kings in 2 turns. So, and they will eventually get there, and then because they're in Blight Cyst, they have Rend 1 and ignores
But
cover.
they're so slow.
No, they have a 7-inch move with run and charge.
It was a
They're not
discussion that was
slow.
had in Discord earlier, but they're so slow.
You're a dick, by the way, Garrett. You're like, hey, let me just bring the one list Caratron Overlord. Can't do shit about it.
Hey, I brought his army. He plays Nurgle and he plays KO.
Well, Mark's
Was
a
it
fucking
actually his
sadist.
minis too?
Yeah, he brought his Nurgle army over for me to play. So I played his Nurgle army versus his KO army. So I guess Matt won in the end. But yeah, so it's really funny when it's like he, hops these guys around in cover, and I'm like, Matt, I ignore cover. It's Blight Cyst. I'm Rend 1, and I ignore cover. So you just
Oh yeah. She's
because that's all you do. You just move the models forward, and they just, oh, cool, I win.
eventually, hopefully,
Yeah, eventually.
maybe sometimes.
With any luck.
But it was really fun hanging out with Matt. He's now excited to go back and play his Nurgle. Surprise, surprise! After seeing how Blight Cyst performs.
That's not what my inbox says because I have like way too many KO lists from him to review. Apparently.
Matt, so
Keep going.
this is the first. So the last time Matt played a game was probably against me back when COVID first started. So he hasn't played a game since like June. So he's just all he does now is make lists. That's his experience with Warhammer. So he will make lots of Nurg lists. He'll make lots of KO lists. And he's never done. So so after that, I am moving my attention towards 9th edition 40K. As I discussed last week, I busted out basically my entire Sisters army. I'm still scrounging around and trying to find some hidden stuff that have done through the multiple moves across the country into my new home. I got to find my Multimelta Sisters still, but I busted them out and I bought 100 of these little converters that you put around a 25 mil base to make it into a 32 mil base, and you get this nice little sister who now has on a 32 mil base, and it's an old metal Sister of Battle. So I went and I am down to, so I bought 100 and I have 11 left. So I have converted 89 sisters to 32 mil bases so far. I still have a whole boatload left. I thought I had about 150 sisters. Turns out I have almost 200 Sisters of Battle.
Metal sisters?
Metal. All metal.
What the
I have about
fuck?
200 metal
I feel like
sisters.
I head
of
shorter
battle.
too, which makes things better.
So
I
yeah,
have one metal sister that used to be Garrett's metal sister.
Which one's that?
I don't know. It's a cool sculpt. I found it in the bits box you gave me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, because I'm almost out of these things. I bought 100 because I got like 120. I'll be slightly short. Like, no, I still have this entire bin of sisters left to convert. I don't know.
I will buy you a plastic sister army, and we'll melt those pewters down and make a real life sister.
No. There's something to be said about a fucking old school pewter army.
They belong in a museum, Jeremy.
They belong in a museum.
They belong in a smelter.
They work, like I say, chain swords are the perfect length and thickness when you're soldering together a couple LEDs to make a really nice joint on the wire.
I am considering, since they are metal, I'm thinking about stripping them for about the 5th or 6th time I have stripped this army. Because the pewter, you strip it easily and it doesn't.
It's just paint. It's just paint.
Yeah,
it
and
just
a
comes off the
toothbrush,
pewter.
and you're good.
Yeah. So
And if you
I'm
don't prime
considering-
it, then you're set for restripping it next time.
I have always primed my system because if you don't prime pewter, it does not turn out well.
In this entire time that you've had this army and you've stripped it twice, have you cleaned any of it at all?
I've stripped it 5 times.
Great, but have you cleaned it? Are there mold lines? Are they
COVID infested?
That would require them to ever leave the house.
Fair enough.
They have not left the house since
They've been social distancing
17.
since 2015?
2017. They came out for the inaugural 8th edition release. I went to an 8th edition tournament with them, and then I haven't played them since.
Man, I'm excited for you. I'm excited. They're fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, I've been playing. I played against Jeremy on TTS. I played a game versus Michael Schwartz on TTS. And I've played 2 games against our good friend Ben Viscara. I think it's how you pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
On TTS. And then on Sunday, I played against Paul McKelvey on TTS. So I've been playing around with orcs and sisters.
Saw that.
Yeah. So given the announcement of what's coming for Imperium, I'm probably going to shelf the orcs and just play sisters because
They're so good. They're so good.
With the new weapon upgrades coming to sisters, the orc weapons just look bad now. It's hard to justify
really
playing orcs when it's multi-metals have 2 shots and add +2 damage at half range. What does the orc get?
For me, sisters are I'm playing Space Marine level, power level, but no one's gonna hate me because I'm playing sisters.
Exactly. Playing sisters. So I think I've only finished one of my games, but every game I have finished, except against Jeremy, and that's because I failed 2 9-inch charges with orcs. I was going into, if I had made that of the 30 boys into your 10 Zephyrim, you looking at the board.
For sure. Yeah. So I was thinking, I totally forgot about that event because we kind of called it even before then. We're hey.
So outside of that game, I've had a lot of success playing in 40K, and I'm actually really excited and pumped to get going into it again.
Okay.
So I've been doing a lot of that. It's just getting into 40K, reading about playing TTS, getting my models ready, getting my army ready, and stuff like that. So that's been my what's been in my phase for the last week. Jeremy, what's been in your phase this last week?
Oh, scotch. Lots of scotch. No, no, that's I've been painting my Lumineth. I really want to finish painting the 30 Wardens and the 5 Dawn Riders before the rest of the model line comes out in September. I really want to play them on stream. I think they're going to be my kind of my go-to tournament army going into post-COVID era for AOS. So I really want to get them ready. I will say they're on the upper end of my painting skill, which is not saying much because I don't think I'm a great painter, but it is definitely I'll give you a context. I painted 5 over the weekend. I spent probably around 18 hours painting 5 models. So it's just say it's a lot of time for me. And I usually I did this the right way, which is the you paint one color at a time on all 5 models to kind of speed paint the thing. But honestly, I can't. I'm not that kind of painter. I need to be rewarded for completing something in a very short period of time to feel like I need to continue painting. So this week I've been painting. I'm trying to paint 1 model a day because I feel like the greatest. I was getting frustrated by Sunday because I had not finished any of the 5 models. Even they were all near finish, I just hadn't completed 1. So I was getting frustrated with it. So I know if I keep doing batch painting, I'm just gonna get frustrated. I'm going back to 1 model at a time. My brain works weirdly.
No, that makes sense.
And you just tell people, I like to individually handcraft each work of art.
That's right. Handcraft with the power of love, the spice of love. That Alex will have to unfortunately play against a couple of times and will hate me for it. But
but then I'll just say you took 18 hours and didn't even clean the mold lines.
That's right. Last army I will not be cleaning mold lines on because I bought the nifty fucking mold line cleaning tool. So outside of that, I assembled.
Hooray!
I assembled 5 Seraphins and 1 Canonist. My sister is a battle, which I plan on painting after the Lumineth, and I cleaned up the mold lines on those. So I want you all to know that I can do that. I just choose not to. You can't pressure me into it. I did it out of my own volition. Fuck you all. And then
I did this 1 model with perfection.
It didn't take weeks of bullying.
So I did assemble those as well. But you know what's on my workbench that I'm super excited? Today I bought a full Squid Army, Goblin Squid Army that was on sale. Basically, I got to make a little couple more few purchases to complete that. But I mean, it was a solid list. It had a colossal squid, 2 squid lavas. I don't care if they're recast. They're just basically it's cool. It was all the Forge World squid plus an entire army of squids. So I'm looking forward to that. And ahead, celebrating the full moon right now today because we're recording on Tuesday the 18th, and also because the new White Dwarf has a new allegiance mechanic for an all squig army. And even though there's the allegiance not that exciting, the battalion's okay. But the big major change for me was the Loon Shrine change, which allows squig units to respawn out of the Loon Shrine instead of just stab us and shoot us. Which
So gotta get your 1 year out of the White Dwarf rules.
Well, no, those will keep around. Remember, the General Handbook only nullifies battalions.
No, they nullified all the White Dwarf rules. Celeste is gone.
I thought they nullified only the battalion. I thought that's
No,
what
Celeste Coast was eliminated as well. The FAQ,
okay, well,
said that
I mean,
all the
if they
White
do,
Dwarf rules.
I'm sure they'll do the Gloomspite update by the next General Handbook anyway. So, or not, who cares?
It's actually amazing. I'm wearing this new Outer Rims headwear, and it's imparted an almost future-seeing psychic power to me. So, Alex, tell me about what it was, because you're wearing a hat from the future too, so you also have this future vibe. What was it like to lose to the Gitz army from Jeremy?
Oh man, it hurt. It hurt. I know this is
He's
primarily
already lost to my Gitz army.
I mean, it might be a 40K centric episode, so hopefully our audience is still with us. But in terms of losing to Gitz, it's not fun, especially when you actually play against him in the final round of a GT, and he goes, "Oh man, I have no idea how I got this far. This list isn't great. You're gonna beat me in 30 minutes." And then we go to time at the very bottom of 5th, and there's nothing I can do. And honestly, I'm still playing just to play, and knowing I'm gonna lose, I'm just fuck. Here we go.
The Alex only loses to himself. He never loses to his opponents. Is the story of his mantra.
No, I blame you. No.
So anyway, Alex, in that amazing synopsis of our Gloomspite Gitz rematch, what's on your phase?
Well, I almost had a mini heart attack just now because my Realm Shaper engine
Oh, there you go.
almost fell.
Oh no, you assembled the lightning core. I thought we were going for a portal look on the top.
No. So the best part is, wait, let me see. Maybe this works so that I can actually show people stuff without them. All right, so oh, perfect. Oh, there you go. There you go.
You got a dice
nope,
tray.
no-
Nice.
Not real perfect. You need
Not
a
real
flesh
perfect.
color. It needs to be flesh colored.
All right, so the Realm Shaper is removable. So
Emperor's Children.
yeah, I can just
really any chaos faction.
I can just you got
Ooh,
this part.
cool.
So you got the electricity part. Oh my god, the zoom goddamn zoom background. Yeah. Okay, you guys get the idea. It's blank.
removable for the audience that's not watching us.
It's
online.
removable.
Yeah.
You can see it. There you go. So I can put on whatever the fuck I want. So I'm going to be a little versatile. In the meantime, I did build Space Lizard on other Space Lizard. This is mine.
model. I got to play it on
So-
Sunday. It's a beautiful model.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the work that was done.
Enhance.
On his head. Can you guys see this? Can you
Make it stop!
can you guys see? Can you guys see what's going
I
on here?
can't see anything.
Can you please
Oh
put
no!
a sword?
No! It's too close. It's too
Can you
close.
please put a Saurus Knight on like a giraffe just for Paul McKenzie?
There you go.
Oh, that's great.
There you go.
It looks
Yeah,
great.
so-
The Star Drake head
It's-
on the
Looking
Carnival
good.
is amazing.
So yeah, you guys have my head. Now I'm gonna slowly zoom out. What happens? Yeah. So,
I like
anyways,
the clicking noise that goes with it. It's just
oh yeah, because I'm using.
I don't know.
I'm
I
using-
mean, I kind of like that Alex head. It's good stuff.
yeah, it's good. It's good. It's like Nuvens or something. But yeah, besides that, in terms of 40K, I have all my models from Indominus all ready to go. Really excited to do a certain particular style of painting that I've already mentioned to you guys before, bit of a vaporware-esque style that I got a lot of influence from a photoshopped image of a Reanimator, and then I went on YouTube, I was just randomly looking up stuff on Instagram, and I found a guy who just almost made the base, basically created the base coat for it with to him, he was bragging about having little effort, but he did thankfully, this is so great, 40K, AOS, whatever. A lot of really good painters, most of them are more than happy to tell you exactly what they did to achieve what they did. And so, he gave me just a very simple breakdown of how he made that base coat. And then from there, I've already got these inks that Israel recommended for me for my pink. And that's going to be a big portion of how the army is going to work too. And, I got chipping medium for the things that aren't Indominus, because the Indominus models all have battle damage. So there's no reason to use too much chipping medium, or else it's going to be an obnoxious amount of chipping on the effects on the models. But yeah, I'm really excited to get that going. I got a new airbrush and cleaned it already, and got everything going. So
What'd you get?
I got a Badger Chrome. I never
Ooh,
had a Badger
nice.
before. Never had a Badger. Always had Iowata's Eclipse, but I had one Iowata for 11 years. So it was time for a change. And so there was a guy I know, a local guy, who was just hey, I used this airbrush once and never again. And no one ever taught me how to use an airbrush. So I never used it. And I'm just selling it. And so he sold me it and a compressor, because I needed a new compressor anyway. So
Wow.
it was a win-win. So yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
So I'm going to paint some Necrons up. I saw some really great conversions out there where people took the back legs of the Reanimator to make these creepy looking Scorpek Lords. So now I'm man, I built a conventional Scorpek Lord with minor conversions. And then I see these people now taking the Reanimator's legs and making those you've seen some of the more modern pseudo futuristic looking runners prosthetic legs, how they're a backward kind of curve.
Yep.
They use the Reanimator's front scythe legs, but flip them backwards and put them on the hip joint of the start of the body of the Scorpek Lord, which makes them look very slim, slender, and an inch and a half taller, but make them look really creepy looking. And I was fuck, why didn't I do that? So I might do that with my second Scorpek Lord, because I still got the bits for it. And I don't really think I'm going to need a second Reanimator even after the Codex comes out, but I'm gonna
Knock
regret
on
it.
wood.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Right now, worst unit in the game, likely to get massively better with the codex. So yeah, it's going to be really, really fun to paint them. Of course, I also have the Space Lizards non 40K based that I have painted like ready to go. So I have some paints coming in the mail, some Chimera orange, Chimera cold yellow, Chimera warm yellow, and then I've already sorted through all my paints, and I really don't need, like, they're not all exactly what I need. So I was trying to figure out like an orange, because I'm running Kotal's Claw, and Kotal's Claw have like one color scheme in the Seraphon book that's like dark blue, like a dark blue color,
Yeah.
but just like every other fucking Lizardman army that's like teal. I was like, no. This is an army that's like in Gur, Realm of Beasts. I want them to be fucking Badland looking guys. And so I found Warhammer Weekly, Vincent from Warhammer Weekly specifically, had this great like hour-long episode of his like Warhammer cheating YouTube series, which I recommend to everyone. Like, even if you're an experienced hobbyist, you're going to learn something from like any of his like videos on like hobby cheating. And one of his is like, I'm going to paint an army in 24 hours. And he paints an army in 24 hours, but it's not like 24 consecutive hours. It's like over the course of 3 days. And, he does, say, I'm skipping over these parts here or these parts there. You don't have to, if you're not like challenging yourself for 24 hours, which I'm not. But like his color scheme looked really great. This this really enjoyable orange for me. Sometimes orange can be really obnoxious, but he also goes into like the color theory of orange and how to like utilize a color like that that's such a primary, like in your face color, and like how you either have to make it the whole primary scheme or like very strategic accents. And so I really liked like his color theory that he goes over while he's talking about what he's doing, and he tells you exactly what he's doing as well. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to take his color scheme and make my own variations of it and stuff. So it's pretty cool. But that's all that's in my phase. I mean, we have no events to go to, which is a huge bummer. In Oregon, we don't really have any. There are some in Washington. Our local game store, though, I'm really excited about. Guardian Games, right down the street from me, just a little farther of a drive for Jeremy, but not by much. They are, I went there like 3 times figuring out my paint scheme. So I had to return paints, bring them back, return paints. And, so they've seen me a lot recently. And they told me that they're going to consider opening up, a couple of tables for like reserved games that still fit like the guidelines locally. And I don't know if I'm going to do that necessarily, but I think that it's really cool because I know that there are a lot of 40K players out there who like are really jonesing for games who haven't been able to get any in, which of course leads us to the crux of this episode, as this is a 40K episode. We of course want to talk about 9th edition. We want to talk about what's going on, and all of us hosts, people who are, Age of Sigmar players may know that we're 40K players initially. 40K players may or may not even know who the hell we are. But, with 40K, we've had a lot of enjoyment. We've all played the game for a really long time. I got to say, I myself, I've been playing since I was like 11 years old, I think. Not well, mind you. But, I was playing Warhammer. I had a really shitty Tyranid army with all pewter models. So, we're all getting back into 40K. I got to say, if we were to just, in a nutshell, talk about, why we're getting back into 40K, if we were to maybe say a sentence or two about it, we want to just kind of explain that. John, if you were to explain kind of the tippy top, why you're getting back into 40K, why might that be?
He tried to say a sentence or two. I'm going to spend a sentence or two telling him why I'm not going to talk for a sentence or two. So let's start with that. So I'm not getting back into 40K. I am definitely not getting back into 40K. I never left 40K. I've always been there. The entire time that I've been playing Age of Sigmar, that I've been running tournaments and everything, have been because I enjoy Age of Sigmar. At no point did that reduce the amount of non-tournament 40K play. So I still play 40K on a weekly basis and have for many years. It did, when I started focusing on Age of Sigmar, it definitely changed my tournament play. So I would say that I have, in 2019, I only went to, I think, 3 40K tournaments. And the year before that, it was like 10 40K tournaments. Whereas my AOS tournaments have been up in the high teens to 20s. So there's definitely but on a weekly basis, I play 40K. So that's it. Sorry, I was about to say other stuff, but that's my 2 sentences.
That's your 2 sentences. Okay. Garrett, what about you?
So I'm excited about Ninth with the
Mhm.
rules changes, changing the way the game is played is exciting me because they fixed some things in Eighth I did not like, particularly about how scoring was done in ITC. And then on top of that, Age of Sigmar is starting to feel a little stale to me, which I think 8, 9, it's kind of where I was when 7th edition 40K started feeling stale to me, and Age of Sigmar looked very exciting. Now that I've done Age of Sigmar for over 4 years now, I'm now going to Age of Sigmar is feeling a little stale to me, but 40K, which I haven't really given a thought in 4 years, is now looking very exciting. I've given it some thought, but I tried it a little bit here or there, and I never really got into it again. I basically skipped 8th edition completely.
Yeah.
So now I'm getting excited again, and so that's why I'm jumping back into it.
Cool.
There's
Cool.
my not 1 or 2 sentences.
Jeremy, what's up with you in 40K?
Well, I really only have 2 words. I don't even have a full sentence. But I will preface that's 2 words of like, please, Nick Hayden, do not fucking murder me on your altar of internet fame.
No.
Also,
Oh, no.
Tasty Taste from Blood and Kittens. The reason why I'm back to Ninth is Mike Brett.
Because of Mike
Really?
Brand?
Because
Okay.
of Mike Brett.
Mike Brand.
Mike,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't know about that, Jerry, because the other day what you were saying to me was that you've already defeated Alex with every army in Age of
Okay.
Sigmar,
No,
and
no,
now
no,
you're
no.
looking at 40K
I swear
as
to God, I
17
will
new
end this-
factions that you
I will
can
end
you
this
can
Zoom call so
defeat
fast.
Alex with.
It'll make your fucking monitor spin.
I guess it needs. I probably should give some, like explanation as to why. The reason is very simple. I felt 8th edition was basically the alpha test of what 9th edition is, in a sense. The entire edition of 8th was just a giant. If we could retcon 8th edition out of existence, we should. 8th edition was the attempt at Games Workshop to write a game system for competitive players and casual players for the first time, right? Because 40K has never been a competitive player mindset. It's always been kind of a narrative, kind of casual player mindset. And 8th edition was their first attempt at doing that.
I would say 5th edition was, man.
No. Hell fuck no.
Really?
Hell fuck
No,
no.
5th edition
Not-
codexes. 5th
Oh,
edition
no.
was the players taking control of competitive play. 8th edition was actually GW acknowledging that they need to have a hand in it.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay.
And I think GW realized very quickly they were just not ready organizationally to take ownership of that. I mean, they tried, right? 8th edition was the era of Warhammer Community. 8th edition was the era of Frankie and Jeff, God bless his soul, basically doing live casting for. They're getting their feet wet, right? They're getting their feet wet into competitive 40K, like and now the game is like arguably in 8th edition to 9th edition, they have built some rigorous process, like the FAQ, the dual yearly FAQ system, the chapter approved mechanic, right? They're getting on a cadence of figuring out how to balance the game for competitive play, but also be fun for casual and narrative play. Like they introduced the crusade mechanics in that, right? They're not giving up on narrative play style or any of that. They're just saying like, look, like we need to not ignore the competitive aspect of the game. They want that aspect of 40K to continue growing organically, but they want to be able to say we have an influence over it. And they picked, Mike Brandt to basically be the voice and reason for the liaison between competitive 40K and their in-house like organization, right? He's effectively the middleman between those two, the Games Workshop trying to figure out how to write 9th edition for competitive play, and also having somebody who's kind of like the forward public face of Games Workshop for competitive 40K play. I guarantee you, the entire chapter, what is it called? Is it still called chapter approved? I actually thought it was called
Sort
something
of.
else.
There's like the chapter approved is now broken into two.
Yeah, the
You buy
tournament.
chapter approved, and you get the GT tournament packet. And
There you go, the GT
Minotaur
tournament pack.
Yeah,
The
mini
GT tournament pack is 100. I guarantee it is 100% Mike Brandt's creation with basically a back and forth with the GW rules team. That is
Yes, it feels very much like a Nova rules pack, a Nova
Exactly.
open rules pack.
Yep.
It feels
And,
very much like it.
I don't want to be speculative, but I'm assuming that could have, like, in a different alternating universe, we could have had the Reese version of this, right? If this is an alternative universe, we could have had the Reese as Mike Brandt, basically. Research could have been effectively and the missions would have been very much closer to ITC, right? Style. And it's not a critique of both. What brings me back to the edition is the fact that Games Workshop has said, you know what? We can't be the solo. We do not have the expertise to man a competitive 40K rule set. Please, let's bring in experts who can. And that's why I think 9th edition will succeed from the competitive mindset. And I know a lot of people will have like concern, background or blah, blah, blah. Like, it doesn't matter. The point is that their Games Workshop is learning that they cannot own competitive 40K based solely on in-house people. They went external, right? The success of Games Workshop in the last 2 years is written by the fact that they, for the first time in their history, had an American CEO. Even though he came from in-house and from the sales organization, they went out of their basically kind of like traditional framework. And like I will say, he has been incredibly successful for Games Workshop, and I think for 40K will be the same story. Not saying it has anything to do with the fact that Mike Brandt and the CEO are American. I'm just saying like Games Workshop is realizing that they're not necessarily the all-knowing entity when it comes to what's best for their game anymore.
So is this like one long ongoing sentence?
It's two
No,
words, remember.
it's
Two
actually
words.
just a diatribe followed by a monologue, followed by another
Shocking.
diatribe, followed by a monologue,
Shocking.
and then
Shocking.
a final period. And then
Oh.
to end it all, mic drop, Mike Brandt, fuck you all. All right, let's go. What's that? what are you playing 9th edition, Alex? And please don't fucking tell me it's because Necrons are getting a codex. You fucking.
I was actually going to say, because Necrons are getting codex. Yeah, no, 9th edition, I mean, I actually liked 8th edition. I liked it a lot during the index phase, the index period, when armies were unique, but also they were stripped down of some fuck shit. I mean, I was going from my Lich Star in 7th with like, where I had done like Knights with Renegades, and then I had done like Renegades with fucking Lich Star. I think that was my last list of 7th.
So for our audience who doesn't know this, because Alex refuses to tell this story, the only reason why Alex played Renegade Knights is because he was kind of like confused about his like direction and in his 40K livelihood, and he's just like, maybe it's time to be a little bit bi-curious about which type of robots I want to be, in love with. So
Yeah,
anyway,
basically.
please keep
Yeah,
going.
it's true. It's fully true. It was like, okay, let's try something different. And that was that, kind of like the Seraphon for my AOS.
Turns out he was not that bi-curious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now I don't even know if I'm going to be able to use my Knights, because I've done, like, I've looked a little bit into, how many points they've gone up with, and, just looking at the missions and looking at how the gameplay is, it just seems super difficult to run a full Knight army, regardless of it being Imperial Knights or Chaos Knights. And in addition to that, this edition so far, this edition really, really, really tries to avoid soup armies. It kind of hinders your progress if you're using it. You're basically making a less efficient list if you're bringing a soup army. So it like kind of warns you or waves you away from having a soup army. So like a random knight and like a chaos detachment, or a space marines with an imperial knight. It's like they're trying to
I
be
would
like,
not
no,
voice
don't
it
do
that
that.
way.
What's that?
I would not voice it that way. I would voice it as that you have a conscientious. Oh my God, English is not my first language. You have to make a real decision about like if you want to use soup armies. Like before, then it was kind of like a no-brainer. If a soup army was better, was no-brainer solution.
You benefited from doing soup, honestly, because you
Yeah,
gained all of
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. And now there's a real
Until
cost
right
to
at the end of 8th edition.
Yeah.
They tried to tone it down a little, but
Yeah, a
the
little
further
bit.
back you go, the more soupy things get.
I will argue that the way they've taken it with the CP generation mechanic is actually the right way of doing it, which is that there is
Yes.
a real cost to your in-game performance, but at the same time, it's like up to the player to like, do I value the soup more than I
Exactly.
value the in-game reward?
There's
No
something
soup
to
for you.
compare
No
it
soup
to.
for you.
Yeah. There's something to
That's
compare
basically what
it
I'm-
to. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of 9th edition right there. But yeah, you know,
No
I'm
soup
excited.
for you.
Yeah, I'm excited about 40K.
More, please.
exactly. You know, I got all these Necrons on lock. Excited to bust them back out. Yeah, a big part of it is that we're getting a new book because Necrons in 8th edition, like they went from having some, like they were not an overpowered army in 7th. They were strong, but by no means were they like absolutely crazy good. But then in 8th, they were okay in Index, and then you could play it. Like I played a list I called the Quantum Butthurt list, which is just all quantum shielding, which like suffered to Space Marines. But
Yeah.
like our good friend of the podcast and owner of Hammerhead Games, Tony Myers, he was driving through California, through Oregon, up to Washington, and he came for an RTT that I went to, and you know, he was really excited, prepared for it. And his list in Index 40K was, or Index 8th edition, was auxiliary unit of elites, so 5 Wraith Guard. It was 2 or 3 Wraith Knights, and then a Revenant Titan. And he gets matched up against all quantum shielding. And so it was one of those things where he couldn't do anything to me because everything he had was like D6 damage or 3D3 damage or 3D6 damage, which is all the like the Revenant Titan's guns, like almost it's 2 guns were 3D6 damage against vehicles. So every single time he shot with like 2D6 shots, he'd shoot something and he'd be like, I need to roll like 3s, don't I, to like actually have you have a chance to not like to actually take the damage. I was like, yeah, pretty much. So he kept on rolling like 3 dice, and if he rolled over 6, then I didn't even have to roll my dice for quantum shielding. I was just like, this doesn't happen. This doesn't happen. So he'd be like, 13, shit. 8, shit. 10, fuck. You know, like,
I
that
want
was-
to point out
yeah,
that I think the writers of 8th edition Necrons had the hearts in the right place, but unfortunately forgot about the realities of 8th edition.
yeah,
It's what
seriously.
it comes
So
down
we,
to.
you know, we had a codex and it wasn't all that great. And then like, I just got really disheartened playing it because it was like, you play against any like Imperial army and it just wasn't a game. It honestly wasn't.
Yeah.
Like you had one build in 8th edition for Necrons and it worked okay for some people. It was very much maybe, it was like a gatekeeper list. Like if you could beat this list, you could easily be in the top like upper echelon or the upper half of the tournament.
Yeah.
But like you playing the list, you would maybe get in the top 5 if you were like, that's the best you
Yeah.
could go for, but you would not be getting 1 or 2.
Yeah, Necron podium finishes are very often rare and far in between.
Super rare. So, you know, going into 8th edition, or, you know, I
Ninth
got less
edition.
enthusiastic about 8th edition.
Oh, sorry,
So going
8th
into,
edition.
yeah, so going into 9th edition, there's a lot there. So, you know, and like you said, you know, there's a whole new mission packet, new style of play, a lot of added things that have changed. So, you know, it makes things pretty exciting. But, you know, this goes into some of the discussion that we've already been talking about right now. And these, of course, are the rules changes to 40K or to 40K right now in 9th edition. And all of us coming from 40K, then to Age of Sigmar, then to 40K again, it's funny to see
Except for
some
John.
of the, except for John, because he never left.
Never left.
He never left. You know,
Bitch, please.
it's fun. It's fun because we get to see the similarities between the games. So for me, you know, one of my favorite things right now is, you know, in terms of the rules, is going to be a lot of the changes with how movement works. You know, you can't just like go through walls. You can't have like a Terminator or a, you know, Centurion just like bust through a wall and expect that to work. You got to kind of like go through certain areas and avenues like doors for like actual movement to work in ruins. That's one of my favorite
unless
things.
it's breachable. Terminators
Unless it's
don't go
breachable,
breachable,
unless it's breachable. And I do
which
like
all
the
ruins
extra-
are.
Yeah, and I like the rules for terrain despite it being a little bulky. You know, I'm curious about how they're going to do that with tournaments. But, you know, those are the 2 big ones for me. John, what about you?
Sure. So for me, the biggest changes are a little bit of a reshuffling of the phases. We now have a command phase. Not a lot happening in the command phase, but it's kind of a distinct moment of this is now my turn. I'm in the command phase. It starts getting you thinking down those roads. For sure, for those of us that have played a lot of Age of Sigmar, playing Age of Sigmar makes you a better 40K player. Playing 40K does not make you a better Age of Sigmar player.
Correct.
But so just be warned. And I know all 40K players are like, Age of Sigmar, no, I'm telling you.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm telling you. Wait till you melee me.
Yeah, seriously.
Wait till you see me moving models around the board.
Oh my god. Yeah,
I'm used to moving 240 models on the table. When I play my 30 model Marine army, you better not blink. So there's that. So wait, go ahead, Garrett. Go ahead, please. Yeah, I know you're dying.
About the melee thing. It was really fun seeing people be annoyed by the going from 1 inch of 1 inch for melee to half inch of half inch. And me coming from Sigmar, I'm using these 40 mil, 32 mil models, but I'm like, I'm getting like 5 times as many models in melee that I'm used to. This is amazing.
Yeah, seriously.
Two ranks of 32 models. I'm like, this melee is easy in this game. What are you guys complaining about?
And the other thing was in 8th edition, if you go back further in 40K, there's various levels of terrain rules. And in 8th edition, there were not good functional terrain rules. It's funny that, for example, you brought up Mike Brandt as the hero of 9th edition, Jeremy. I think of Mike Brandt as the guy who broke 8th edition, as the person who created the invincible box.
Hot take.
So
Where's the
what I see is GW said, oh, there's the guy that broke the edition for the tournament scene. Let's make sure we have him as part of the rules list. And that's part of why, and I don't say this in a negative way. I'm saying you need somebody who thinks in terms of how to break the rules, how to take advantage of the rules, and they need to be a key player on the rules. Because I know guys like Garrett think about how rules work. I don't. I think about where the edges of rules are. I think about where the edges of rules are and where they interact. I think about where the wording gets weak and I can take advantage of ambiguous stuff. And it's all reasons that I can do little things that, oh, that's what I gotcha. That's just how it works. Oh, you didn't read it that way? I'm sure it works that way. Oh, yeah. See, Garrett? Yeah. You're like, yeah, John, you may scrape your mold lines, but by God, you scrape the edge of those rules too.
That'll be fucking hell okay.
And so with 9th edition, I'm seeing a little bit tighter rule set. I am specifically seeing in the rule book, there's the section of normal wording of rules, and then there is a box that explains, look, Grognard, in case you're trying to game this, this is what we mean. When we said this is what we mean.
I love
that.
that.
Back of the book, there's a glossary of terms where they failed on defining the most important word, move. When you say the word move, what does that mean? Now, maybe that's an Age of Sigmar perspective, but I'm just waiting for that booby trap to pop up in 40K as well. So to me, these are the big things I like. The last part, as I was starting to talk about terrain, is the new modular terrain, and I've only played a few games of 9th edition, but each time, after we've laid out our sea of terrain, 14, 15 pieces of terrain, we have a discussion. Okay, are all of these area terrain? Yes, everything's area terrain. Okay, this one is over 5 inches. It's obscuring. This one looks to be fairly damaged. It's breachable. This one over here looks to be a power generator or something, so it's not going to be breachable. And it's short, so it's not going to be obscuring. You only get cover if you're standing behind it. And we just go through and assign these, not this is ruins or this is a building or this is what a forest. We assign specific rule traits to each of the specific pieces of terrain, and then it's absolutely clear to everybody. Those are the big takeaways for me. So I think it's just this tighter edition, cleanup of the rules, less edge interpretation of the rules themselves, at least this far into the edition. And in particular, the modular terrain is amazing once you get used to it. So with that said, Garrett, tell me about how you've been getting all excited about 9th edition.
Well, when I finally got my hands on the rule, I was probably about 3 weeks behind the curve on getting my hands on the actual rule book and diving into the rule book. But I did, and I mean, I'm just going to reiterate a lot of what John said. This is a very tight rule book. Given
Kind of.
a lot of, kind of. I mean, it is
Has
a
room
tight
for
rule book.
improvements.
Yeah, because it is a tight rule book that is dense, though. Like, you have to work through a lot of words to get what you want out of it, which is nice. They had those little bullet points, because for someone who doesn't care to read every word of a sentence to understand the rule, you could be like, yeah, why do I need to do this? How does this rule work? Cool, done. Like, when you're teaching someone a game or something, you don't need to go through every single language of a rule. But like, I mean, yes, there are some issues with rules. There are some, ways that it can be read multiple ways. But overall, it is a very tight rule set. Coming from Age of Sigmar, coming from a Warhammer 40k 7th edition, they have covered a lot of bases. Like, one of the big things I noticed was how they define different kinds of movements. There is a normal move. There is an advanced move, which is different from a normal move. So you take an explicit action that is a advanced move. And then they added the remain stationary move. So you can explicitly remain stationary. And so they added all of these like very explicit things that help.
Which may not sound like a big deal, but in the past, you would have to say, I am moving an amount and moving exactly back to where I was before. And you would have to declare this as an action for models in a turn, because they had to move.
Yeah, or we got the debate of, do I have to move because I don't wish this unit to move because I want it to remain stationary? Like, that is now alleviated, because you're just like, I'm remaining stationary. And then later on, they have rules about, like, if the model made an advance or normal move or charge move, do X. But it doesn't say anything about remain stationary to do X, so therefore remain stationary doesn't proc that ability. And then the terrain rules, I really like the terrain rules, but I take the opposite approach that John does. When I am building a table, I would bring certain traits to the table. So I don't build a table and then see how it looks and then assign the traits. I go, what traits do I want on this table? I want obscuring terrain here. I want dense terrain over here. And I will explicitly put a forest over there that's dense. I will explicitly put some, big buildings over here. I want obstacles over here as opposed to area terrain over here, because obstacles, these cargo containers, they're not breachable, but the ruin is breachable. So I wish this to be breachable. I wish, I will actually build my table with an expectation of how it should look from the beginning, rather than building a table and then trying to figure out what it means.
That's the beauty of the game. Both those measures now are equally as important.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Because like what Garrett's defining is more of a TO's perspective, how he wants his terrain table to be described. John is more like the player's onus at the table is to define what the terrain's as, so everybody's on the same level page, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I love that you have that ability. The fact that they have these terrain traits as opposed from specific terrain pieces allows you to do these different perspectives and like be very clear as to how things work. While the terrain rules are very wordy and I think are going to take some time to understand. I mean, when I was playing against Paul, we had to look at specific rules, interactions, like ignoring the benefits of cover. Does it apply to armor save? Does it ignore the dense terrain rule? How does the dense terrain rule work with things that ignore line of sight? Yeah, I know it's in the small book.
Which is a problem, right? Because it's not in the rule book, it's in the small book, which I thought was an oversight, but whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of things you have to get used to. I mean, I'm excited because these are the things I love. I love reading rules, finding all the interactions, figuring out how they work, finding ways to point to this is how it works and this is why it works. I know this because I've read all the rules and I've built my knowledge base. So I'm really excited with this very robust rule set that is very succinct. But it's a very tight game, the rules overall.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on the changes in the rules. Otherwise, it's very 8th edition-y. the actual way the game plays is still very much 8th edition, just with a lot of tighter rules. I mean, the way armies are going to play. The way armies
It's Diet 8. It's Diet 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more 8th than it is 7th, 5th, 6th, or anything before because of the changes in the toughness mechanic and the armor mechanic.
There's some
Jeremy, what about you? What are some things that you like about it?
I don't want to echo Garrett and John because I think their points are 100% right, but I will say I will expand on something that is important to me, and this is why I really like Ninth. Other than Mike Brandt, the hero, it's not a hero. I just like the fact that Games Workshop acknowledges its mistakes. It's the fact that now I can. So I think I've had this conversation with maybe one of you not on the podcast, but I'm gonna have this conversation now, or it's gonna be in a few sentences. I build every army with one core principle: can I win games without killing a single one of my opponent's units? That's literally like I build like. If the answer is yes, and every army I build, then I think it's a good army. It's like my barometer for basically building armies. And in 8th edition, I could not build a single 40K army where I thought that situation was true. Because the entire game plays around, it felt very much to me like no matter if I outmove my opponent, if I outplay my opponent, if I get objectives, I never felt like I was ever going to be in a winning position to win the game.
That was probably more ITC missions than 8th edition itself, but ITC missions were the 90% popular way.
Right. I totally like, but for me as a player in my local area and where I play, that was the reality, right?
Yeah.
And then now that 9th edition is out and there was basically this GT rule pack, I can tell you, I have many ideas of an army I can build around where I can check box that statement in 40K, where I feel like I can build armies that do not have to kill a single model from my opponent's army and still win the game. Like, yeah. I'm not saying we're going to win by large margins here. I'm saying, like, I still have a chance of winning, even if I killed 0 things on the table. And
yeah, I just want to iterate on that is I noticed that why you say that Mike Brandt had a lot of influence in this. When I first got into 8, after the Orc Codex came out, I played at Mike Brandt's house. And I was really excited because I brought this orc list. And I'm like, wow, this played really well. I'm doing what I want. And I was playing the game, not murdering my opponent. I then went to a local tournament, which used ITC missions, and I got murdered because I didn't kill anything. I'm like, oh, okay. So that's kind of like shows why there's a lot of influence from Mike Brandt's Nova missions and these GT packs because it plays towards that of you don't have to kill anything to actually succeed in this game.
It's also why I fell in love with AOS. Because I felt in AOS you could build armies that were just getting the shit shoved in and you would still win the game. Like, because you never have, in some games, like there's some, if you are a good player and you understand the core mechanic of the game and how you win missions, it's never about killing your opponent. It's about being better movement, better control of the movement phase, better control of the board, and also timing and setting up roadblocks. That's how AOS plays. Now, you could definitely, like, the difference between a good, like, top-tier armies is, like, who can kill the opponent's, like, remove the opponent's advantage on the board more than the other. And in 40K, I see that happening now. Like, the way the missions play of the secondary, I definitely see that, even the primary, I see that happening, where it's like, I don't have to kill you. I just have to remove your presence on the board. Yep. I have to move your pieces off the board. And for me, it's like way more of a chess mentality than it used to be before. And that's for me that's the big improvement over 8th edition from an ITC perspective going into 9th edition with this perspective. So
totally.
I look forward to playing my Harlequins again and not feeling like I'm going to get shut off the table and just lose the game. Yeah,
and like we talked about, Harlequins are doing really good too. It's something to be said about how cover works, how infantry armies work. I think that like we talked about earlier, being able to control, or with the 9th edition rule setup, they do discourage soup armies. Not like you can't bring them, but they discourage soup armies. They're discouraging mech heavy armies. In order to get some of those secondaries, those auxiliaries that you need, it's really ideal that you have a lot of infantry. So like if you're an army that has fantastic infantry, you're good. If there's some where it's like you have to be a lot more select, then you really better start looking at your support systems in play to protect those guys. I'm really liking a lot of this. You know, some of the things I think in our game, Jeremy, when we initially played, there were some confusing parts with, you know, terrain, but I think that that's just going to go in stride as we continue forward. You know, it's just going to be something that's going to be a lot easier to just continue to snap into.
Yeah, it's true. Like
Yeah.
I definitely, but once again, Alex, I really want you to think outside of, like, don't think of it so negatively about soup. It's ninth edition is about having a real cost to making such a oh my god, such a conscious decision about.
Oh, for sure.
I think 8th edition was really
Let
bad.
me rephrase
and
it.
then
As someone who plays Chaos Knights and have no other Chaos army that's ready to go right now, it's like, oh,
Sure.
I actually can't do soup.
Well, I want to say that, you know, we started talking about soup. Like Garrett earlier was talking about asking us about paint jobs for his sisters, and what's the minimum difference between paint jobs to achieve soup. But I'm like, honestly, in this edition, I don't even know that you would want to same faction soup. So I've yet to see how that even plays out as far as that will go. What I will say, though, is I have, obviously in the past, I have been a soup player. Okay, so I've mixed all kinds of stuff. For me, it starts back with Ultramarines and Tau. I've mixed Dark Angels and Space Wolves. I've mixed Marines and Dark Angels. Yeah, all kinds of stuff, right? All the mixy mixes, right? Whatever. I own some guards, so I can mix them in. All these things.
The
That
loyal
said,
32.
I own exactly 32 guardsmen. What can I say, right? So that said, when I look at this edition, I'm not a big soup player, but what I am is a person who doesn't like to play the quote, you know, battle line armies, troops, I guess in 40K we would call them, right?
Yeah.
I like to play specialty armies. In fact, my vision of a force, you know, whether I'm playing my Eldar, my Tau, my Dark Angels, my Marines, whoever it is I like fast attack. I like high mobility. I like bikes. You know, I own 72 Eldar jet bikes.
Yeah.
I own over 60 Marine bikes. I like bikes. I like fast attack models.
I love bread.
Right? If Tau had bikes, I would have Tau bikes. I would have a whole army of Tau
I just
bikes.
want to point out that John never translated that love in AOS. He never played a single cav heavy army.
Yeah, never once.
No, never fucking once at all.
No, that's true. That's true. This is true. Because you know why? Those fucking cavalry models are so much goddamn work.
You know, that
Put
actually
some
reminds me.
LEDs in the heads, man.
That actually reminds
Yeah,
me.
I'd have to put LEDs on every one of those horses. They'd have to have lighted eyes. It would
Can't do
never
it.
work.
Can't
It
do
would
it.
never work. So for me, what I'm finding in 9th edition is I can pay a small penalty, and play a nice fast attack army and still have plenty of command points to get me through the game. And since I'm gaining a command point each round, I at least have one reroll each turn that I can use. So I, in the previous edition, was very punished for playing my fast attack army. I mean, I can tell you how many times I would roll into a game with 5 command points. How many command points you got, John? I got 5. And I'm going to spend 3 to make a chapter master. So I'm playing this game with 2 command points. Don't worry, I'm not going to pull any fancy stratagems on you. Whereas now that same army is going to roll in with at least 9 command points and be in a better place. So to me,
And
that's
get one a
big
turn.
yeah, and plus
And you
one
get one a turn.
The
I gotta say,
AOS special.
that's another huge mechanic that I really enjoy right now is the fact that you do get a command point a turn. You know, again, playing an army like Necrons, which was always command point strapped, playing something where you always get a command point at the start of your turn is phenomenal.
Yeah. I also want to warn you, there will be a most likely, like if I my force, I don't have the blinders on or whatever, but I will say that Games Workshop will probably increase stratagems as the new codex is.
Or there will be armies that will have the whole Catacross ability, which will be like, I'm going to roll a dice.
Oh
and
yeah,
start
deny your
command
opponent's
phase,
the
and on
ability
a
to generate.
4 up, nah, you don't get your command point.
Yeah, which was something they could never do right before, because there was not a dynamic in eighth. Like there was no generating command points in eighth.
No,
Right? So
no. So now that
um,
they have a whole new edition and they've had edition behind them, I'm sure that
they
there's
could
gonna
add
be
some
like
other
some
dynamic
subterfuge
to it.
characters. You know, like the GSC guy with like the hologram in front of him. Maybe he can
He's like-
steal command points or something.
Yeah, no, no.
Others comes out.
Dark Angels players do not get command points. Instead, they get in touch with their inner circle and inner secrets. You gain inner secret points every turn.
Can I go back to that Gene Steer guy? Because I really wanted one guy to make a GSC model of that, which is the wolf. You know, the engineer from Prometheus, like the guy who's the fucking drones, and he's like, I'm a badass wolf, motherfucker. Like, I just want that guy as a GSC model.
Yeah, hell yeah, that'd be tight. That'd be tight.
I like it.
No, one other thing here for me at least with 9th edition, I really like how everyone has you know, a set reserve rule, you know,
Strategic reserve.
based on power level, and we had talked about this prior to the show, and that had actually changed quite a bit. You know, Games Workshop came out on their Warhammer community page and made a new document presenting new power level changes, because power level is, as we know, wholly irrelevant to the game, with the exception of now in 9th, you know, how many command points that, you know, it costs to put something in reserve is wholly dependent on the power level of that unit, which of course changes with squad size. So yeah, that was a big one for me.
Yeah. And,
So if I may, I'm going to jump in real quick here, everybody. I just want to add that, you know, you guys, I don't know if you know, but I'm a founding member of the Fault Line Gaming Club here in the Bay Area, which it's been a few years since Fault Line Gaming, formerly G3, has made any waves on the national scene, but they're kind of known for narrative games. To be a member of the club, only well-painted armies.
Yeah.
It's important to have the conversation with your opponent so that you play that more narrative style game. So anyway, so in this club that's very focused on hobby, the new rules updates came out with the updates to the power levels, and everybody's, oh my gosh, we got some love, and they're paying attention to power level, and this is really all for us. And this whole conversation, I jump in and I'm like, guys, I hate to tell you, none of the power level changes were for you narrative players.
Absolutely
They were
not.
to affect the reserve rules for match play and tournament games. So no, you didn't get love. These are power level for points games.
I mean, they did get some love too. I think there was some factor in there about wanting to balance the power level of units, rebalance given all the many changes that have gone to.
it really impacted a lot of Crusade players, because we never Crusades played on the power level setting.
Who the hell plays
It's
Crusade?
It's a new narrative
Narrative
format.
players.
It's the narrative
Yeah.
format now.
But
But
it's
okay.
very popular, I assure you.
yeah,
in
and
some
that
circles.
that power level increase really impacted some Crusade players, because it was effectively, think about, like, playing an army was 20% less points, for some cases.
You mean like they did with all the point increases that they did?
Yes,
in chapter
Garrett. Thank you. I was looking for that. Technically correct.
Like how they said that they're
technically
increasing.
correct person.
They're like, well, we're going to make all points 20% more for 9th edition, so maybe we'll make all power level 20% more. For
So-
Yeah, but okay, so here's the thing. Now that we're in this and we've seen the point increase, and everyone was like, whoa, why are old Marines 18 points a model now? And I was like, okay, well, you guys get an extra fucking wound.
You're not doing it.
Oh.
I mean, well,
I
okay,
mean,
we don't know because they could have a whole point change.
I don't know. I look at all the new weapons, and like, I think, which is weird, because like I thought if edition was incredibly killy editions when it comes to ranged weapons, and I feel like they're making ranged weapons more killy now. So I'm just like,
more killy.
so I'm
Heavy
like,
bolters causing a second point of damage is huge. I
Yeah.
have so many heavy bolters in my Marine
Yes,
army.
It murders
Rapier
vehicles.
platforms.
Dude,
I mean, to be honest, like, if you were a Marine player, you're like, I kind of want to keep the 1 wound attack Marine at the previous cost, because like,
I did too.
that 2 wound heavy bolter, a 2 damage heavy bolter ain't gonna kill an extra Marine. So
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly. As soon as I saw the bolter going to 2 damage, I said to myself, perfect. I got a ton of single wound tactical Marines. We're good.
so
so
it doesn't do anything.
But do my bikes go to 3 wounds?
I think so.
Three
Yeah.
wound bikes
they
would be
do.
pretty
They,
bulky.
will,
Do they?
they will, John. Because the
Well,
Primaris
if
bikes are
Primaris bikes are now
5
4
wounds, I
wounds,
think.
then I'm
Oh,
sure
are they?
standard. Yeah, Primaris
Yeah,
bikes are
Primaris
4
bikes.
wounds.
Okay, I thought they were only
5.
3.
No, they're 4.
Primaris
That's right.
bikes were either 4 and 5.
That's 4 wounds?
Yeah,
That's 4 wounds.
it's at least 4. I can't
No,
remember.
it is 4. You know, because the whole thing was I was looking at Scorpion Destroyers being damaged 3, and I was like, holy fuck. And then I was like, oh, they can't kill a bike in combat. One wound, unsaved wound, will not kill 1 bike. It will kill
Right.
1 Marine pretty easily, but
Well, yeah, you know what this really means is anybody who has played Marine on Marine and has assaulted one tactical squad into another tactical squad and then watch those 5 Marines stand in each other's face for
it's gonna
6
happen even
rounds of a
worse.
game.
Even more.
Now there's a whole lot of nothing that's going to happen when those
Oh,
make contact.
neither of you guys have support units that can jump into combat and sway it one way or another. Good luck. You guys really want to dice that combat out? No.
We'll just ignore it for the rest of the game. They'll just sit here. They'll just sit there.
But from the power level increase, I think a lot of it was like done from an adjustment mechanic for strategic reserve, but a lot of it was also done from the fact that they're about to increase the killiness of like a lot of weapons, right? So like we're talking about this, but the real honest truth here is that like they're raising the power level of a lot of very common weapons. Like, I mean, I would say a heavy bolter and multi-meltas weren't that common, but like, you know, people on the internet were shitting on eradicators because they were like, oh my God, they get to shoot twice. That's insane. And then you're like, oh, multi-meltas are going to 2 shots. So you're like, kind of in the retrospect, you're like, okay, so they're just wearing a multi-melta that has more restrictions. Cool, I guess. Like it's just like why'd they just give them multi-meltas? It's like fundamentally the same mechanic now. But anyway, the point is the power level is also due to the fact that there's a lot of overall guns. Like I don't know if you knew this, John, but bolters are also going to 30-inch range.
Wait,
Like,
what?
yeah,
Regular
for
bolters are
bolters?
30 inch?
Bolters, Gauss blasters.
Oh my gosh! You mean my old school bikes are now 3 wounds with a 30-inch range?
Yeah,
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yep.
Because I will
I
say
mean,
when I
you'll never
play my
use it,
bike army, the thing I hear the most common from people is, "Oh, that's not how I've seen bikes played before."
I mean,
and more
I-
range means a whole lot more of the shenanigans I pull.
I don't know about that because I feel like in the new terrain table setups, I feel like more range does not even translate to actually
That's
more
true.
range.
You're right. Yeah, I'm not playing on Planet Bowling Ball anymore. The planet that's covered with 3 pieces of aquarium plants, that's not going to be a real table anymore.
Nope.
No.
Do you
Like-
imagine going back to like what was it, like 6th edition with the bolter banner from Dark Angels?
Oh,
Uh,
It was
my
glorious. Yeah.
I-
Well, it's funny. I don't know if you guys saw. I actually posted on Facebook the tournaments from the, I think it was 2015 Golden Throne tournament.
Oh,
One
yeah.
of the early 6th edition tournaments, and most of the tables had 2 buildings, 2 craters, and 2 pieces of cutout wood or foam that were area terrain. And that was it on a 6x4. I tell you what, nowadays under the modern rules, that would make for some super fast games.
Yep.
I have that experience with Alex Ewan, the head owner of T-Shift. He purposely put my White Scar all biker army on the table of no terrain for the finals for one of his event. That was cool.
Great.
So I want to point out that like, you know, we were talking about strategic reserves and like the impact of like the rise in power level and how it impacts more CP costs, which is important in the game. But there was actually, you know, we had an event over the weekend called Flying Monkey, and there was actually a debate. Well, not really a debate, but there was definitely kind of like a discussion online about like what ended up transpiring in the final game. And honestly, like talking about like above table play, like props to both players, especially on that. But there was an interaction which was, you know, 9th edition didn't really cover very well. Actually, 9th edition ended up covering, but it was kind of ambiguous. Was where when a strategic reserve comes in on the table from a transport, right, and the unit disembarks from the transport, can a Space Marine player use the Auspex ability to shoot the unit that disembarked from the transport? Because technically, the transport came off reserve. Did the unit also come from reserve? And 9th edition says yes.
Yes.
But
yes.
it was not very clear. And thanks, unfortunately, the person who ended up losing that game was very in true, the epitome what we expect at that table, above table play. He basically warned his opponent, by the way, like, I think you think that I can't shoot them with Auspex stratagem, but I want to tell you, like, if you do this, I will be able to shoot them with the Auspex stratagem. And strategic reserve is a great new tool to the tool set of every player in 40K, but armies, which are very common now, have a stratagem that allows them to shoot units coming out of reserve, and that's not only limited to the transport, it is affecting the unit inside the transport as well. So we're back to, like, I think basically 6th edition, where things would come out of drop pods and early warning override will be able to shoot.
And half the game was the fucking was interception.
The interception phase, which was on a phase, but you get the gist of it.
Yeah.
That was the game between Dan Simmons and Dan Samsons. Oh my God, Simmons.
Yeah, Salmons.
Oh my God, I'm gonna murder. It's a basic American name, but I'm just gonna murder it. How about that? Last week it was Alex murdering a French person's name, or Quebecois name, and this today is the French guy murdering an American name. And in his
That's okay. Next week, Garrett and I will do a German-Irish exchange on that name phrasing.
There you go.
Be good.
I gotta say though, looking at this, you mentioned Dan. Dan got first place at Flying Monkey, so congratulations, Dan. That's great. And it was with his Space Marines. So I'm taking a look. Is this going to be a trend? We think, especially when we have an extra wound, where it's it's Space Marines, then it's David Villarreal with his Salamanders, then it's Charles Velasquez with his Death Guard. I'm seeing Space Marines or power armor, and then 4th is Patrick McKinney with his White Scars, more power armor, and then it's 5th place with the only break in the chain so far with Harlequins, then Custodes, Space Marines, Imperium.
Yeah. You did say a few known names there, and I always want to emphasize that even in 40K, the player matters, and a top player can get the best out of any army.
I will also say this is the new edition, guys. There's a lot of people who probably built Space Marine armies at the end of 8th edition, and that's what they want to play. It's not like the power level of Space Marines went down because we translated into 9th edition. It just means that the rest of the codexes coming forward will be a telling tale for the rest of the edition, right? Because we're getting Necrons and we're getting Space Marines.
Yes,
and the Space Marine update will be interesting because I think there's going to be some major rework. I mean, we've already
Space Marine, yeah.
Necron was already know some of it.
No, I'm looking right here at the camera. Oh, I have to lower the camera just a hair. We see my stack of books, and I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sub books for my Space Marines book. So for me to have all of the Space Marine books is like $300, and that was just last August. Yeah. So to be buying all new Space Marines this September, excuse my language, but no, I'm not going to say that because we don't talk that way on this show, but to heck with you, GW, if you're going to make me buy all those supplement books. Oh, I wasn't just going to say, like, fuck you, GW. I had something deeper.
Oh, you're going to go into the deep cockles of your your soul.
But I chose not to go there because I'm not that bitter about it because there's some beautiful fluff, but there's at least 3 of those that I haven't played yet. There might be one that I've never even opened.
This is the tax
Salamanders
for playing Space Marines. It's
not the tax. It's the tax for playing a competitive 40K player. Because I will be honest right now, like that $300 investment John just put out, if you want to be a good 40K competitive player, you better fucking know what's in those books. And it couldn't be told any differently than based on the premise of like what was the top 4 armies in that Flying Monk GT, right? Like, granted, 2 of them were basically Salamander lists. One was like a real Salamanders list, and the other one was like, I didn't like the -1, ignoring -1 range. I just wanted an extra 3-inch range on my guns, and that's the difference between the 2 lists. In regards to the elite, faction mechanics, but at the most part, like, hey, you want to be a good 40K player, you better goddamn know the rules of your opponent's army as much as you know the rules of your army, and then everything else is practice, practice, practice.
Yeah. And, with that, I think that this is a good place to put a pin in it for now. Again, congratulations, Dan, David, and Charles. You guys did a great job over there at Flying Monkey. And like John said, these are not unfamiliar names to us anyways. I'm really excited about 9th edition. And, this is our first episode that's primarily 40K based. So, of course, we all are going to be showing you guys a lot more content with 40K. And while continuing to, of course, what's that?
It's our second episode.
I know. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. So, it's going to be some fun stuff. We got some cool stuff along the way. This upcoming Sunday, Jeremy and I are going to be playing a game of 40K. So be sure to watch out for that. It's going to be on our stream, YouTube, Facebook Live. John, I'm pretty sure you have a hobby video that you have coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? I'm taking advantage of some of this time that I have off for my birthday this week, and I'm going to be recording a video on how to make your own lighted Primaris bikes if you're into it, or you can just look at my own personal insanity when it comes to that. So either way.
Hell yeah. Okay, cool.
If you guys start your game early enough, you might get some nice friendly commentary from yours truly.
Okay, well, last time you were in a TTS game, so hopefully.
Yeah, I'm not going to be this next week. I'm playing 2 games on Saturday instead.
No, it was great. Actually, last time, check this out. Last time, I was out in my garden, and since you guys streamed to Facebook, I was out enjoying kind of picking off my peppers. Peppers actually take a lot of maintenance to have them grow nicely. And so I was out there trimming peppers and taking care of them, listening to your live stream game, listening to your conversation, sitting down every once in a while to check out what was going on. The cams looked real clean, loved everything. I'm really looking forward to this Sunday's game as well. Should be good stuff. What are you guys going to play, by the way? Is it a 40K game or AOS?
It's a 40K game,
40K.
But I don't know what faction I'm going to play. I'm probably going to borrow an army from Jeremy because I either have a bad army or I have an unpainted army, and I'm not going to do the unpainted army again. So, yeah.
I'm probably going to play Custodes, is what it comes
I was going to say
out.
that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. If he's playing
Custodes.
Custodes.
I'll play Harlequins. I don't give a fuck.
No. Grey Knights. Borrow his
I
Grey
don't
Knights.
have any Grey
I don't own
Oh,
any
you don't have Grey
Knights.
Knights. Oh, Grey Knights and Custodes would be a tight matchup right now.
How about Harlequins and Custodes? We can do that.
Sounds pretty good. I like that.
Yeah.
I like those odds.
I
Yeah.
like those
I guess I'm going
odds.
to have to read the codex and learn this stuff.
I think there's
So-
only 3 units, so there's not much to read.
Yeah,
It's
there's like a
like-
Solitaire and like a Harlequin and like a Mask and then like a Venom. There you go.
The Venom.
What?
Okay.
Watch Jeremy's head explode.
just Willow on the other side of our team.
It's just
running
Willow
down
somewhere in there.
to
yeah.
Oregon from Canada just to kill you on that one.
No, this goes for school, so she's gonna be like,
Hey, she's running
Not yet.
across country right now for
it's
that.
like Forrest Gump. But hey, for all of our listeners out there, yeah, we have all this extra content that we got coming out. We have even more coming up pretty soon. So be sure to check out the announcements on Facebook, on Twitter. Those are the primary social media platforms that we're on right now. And of course, our live streams are always going to be on Facebook Live, YouTube, and of course, Twitch. Be sure to check out our episodes usually around every Thursday or every Friday, and video casts every Thursday and every Friday as well. So if you guys don't want to just listen, you guys can always watch in. I don't know how entertaining we are, but hey, it is what it is. So do enjoy us, like us, subscribe, smash that subscribe button. I feel like such a douche saying that, but seriously, like, subscribe, leave us a comment if there's something you guys want to see. Let us know. If you guys have a question, a rules question or otherwise, let us know. Age of Sigmar 40K. We will dive into those details for you. In the meantime, this has been Alex, John, Jeremy, and Garrett signing off for the night.